All right. So for this function Friday, what I want to look at is some string functions in Power Automate. And of course, all of this applies to Power Apps as well. So let's go ahead and hop over into our system here. Um, so the first one I want to look at is the concat functionation or function. So it stands for concatenation. So it's basically just combining strings together. In this particular example here, we've got four partial strings: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and concat will just return a single string that has all four of them put together. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. So it's pretty straightforward. Works the same as it does in pretty much any language. Um, so that's the first one. The next one I want to look at is the substring. So with substring, basically, it's when it's taking a block of text and pulling out a part of that text. So we'll start with, so the first parameter that you pass in is the string that you want to search through. So something like that. And then substring, you want to give it two number, as two numbers as the next two parameters. And the first number is the starting index that you want to pull out. So in this particular case, if we want to start at the very beginning, we start with 0 because it's a 0 base array. Um, and then the second parameter, or the second number parameter after that, is the number of characters after that. So if I say 3, then what this would return is a string that says ABC. Pretty straightforward with that. One of the things to remember with substring that you kind of have to watch out for and allow for is that if you provide an index or a length that takes it beyond the end of the string, then it's going to throw an error. So for instance, if my string is ABCD, so it's 4 characters long, and I start with, like the third position C, which would be D actually, because it's 0 based, and then give it a length of 3, it'll start with D, and then it'll try to go beyond the end of the string, and that will actually throw an error. So one of the things you need to make sure that you're doing when you're using substring is that you're checking that the length of the string is not longer than the piece of the string that you're trying to pull out. Um, so that requires you to put in some controls and error checking in your flow just to check for that kind of thing, just to make sure that what you're doing is not going to throw an exception. So that's the biggest thing that you have to watch out for with substring. Is just making sure that you're not going beyond the end, and remembering that it's 0 based. So a 3 here actually starts with the fourth position, D. Um, excuse me. The next one that I want to look at is the chunk command. So let's go ahead and do this here. So let's change that to chunk. And the first thing is the string or the array that you're going to do. And strings are just arrays of characters. So Power Automate just treats a string as an array. But if I've got an array, or sorry, a string that's something like that, and I want to break it up into blocks of 3, what this will do is return an array that gives us 3 elements of 3 pieces in it. So what this would do is give us an array of ABC, DEF, GHI. So this here would be the response that comes back, or the output of the chunk command, because it looks at that and says, okay, I'm going to break that up into blocks of 3, and it'll return an array as that. If it's not even, then the last element, will get shortened. So for instance, if this is just like that, it'll still break it up into blocks of 3, but you get that response. Will be the output from the chunk command here, the chunk function. So that's the next one, and it's pretty straightforward for that one. So the next one that I want to look at is the index of function, and it has several variants. So you can see here we've got index of, nth index of, last index of. I'll kind of show examples of each of those. Let's start with just the basic index of. Oops. And we have a string that we want to search first. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. And then what I want to do is pass in what we're searching for. So in this case, D. And what this will return is the position of the first match for this. So in this particular case, D would return a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, or sorry, a 3, because again, it's 0 index. So return 3 as the value for this. If we have a complicated thing, and I want to search for the, it'll return the first response, so return is 0 in this particular case. Index of is not case sensitive. So, in this particular case, it's going to return this one here, which is 0. If it doesn't find a match, then it's going to return a -1 as the value. So in this particular case, if I'm searching for Andy, it's not going to find that in the search string, and it's going to return a -1 as the response saying, okay, I didn't find it. The next one is the nth index of. So if we go nth index of, oops, and let's go back to our search value here, and then I want to look for the second occurrence of that. It will give us this one, the position of this one. So it'd be 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23. So it'll return a 23 as the value here, because the second instance of the occurs in the 23rd position. So nth index of is a way of finding, not the first one, but something further in. And again, obviously, if it doesn't find a match, then it'll return a -1. So if I want to search for the third instance of this, then it's going to return a -1, because there isn't a third instance of that. And then the last variant I want to look at is the last index of. And again, going back to this, it would return 23, because that's the position of this second instance here. So there's 3 different variants of index of here that'll help you to find various instances of a value in a string. So that's the next one that I wanted to show you. The next thing I want to show you is the slice. And what slice does is it breaks up a string into multiple elements. So in this particular case, the box. And if I wanted to cut out, say, the first word, so I'd pass in where I want to start the slice from. Basically, it's kind of like substring, but it's got some more abilities to it. You could look at it as an enhanced version of substring, because it lets you do more than one thing with it. And I'll show you each of the things. So the first basic version works just like substring. So if I want to go 0, start with 0 and go to 3, then what that's going to give me is the first 3 characters of the string. But what you can do after that is you can give different types of values. So if I want to pass in, say, -4 as the parameter, I don't pass in a second number here. And what this will do is it will give you the last 4 characters of it. So in this particular case, this would return goat as the response, because it starts at the end of the string and it goes backwards 4 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that returns goat. So the second parameter is optional. So if I did, like, if I want to start at 10, what was it, 23 is where the second the starts. This would return, if I left out the second parameter, it would give us, starting at that number, all the way to the end. So in this particular case, we get back the goat. And that's basically one of the best enhancements over substring, is because as long as your first parameter is still within the string somewhere, you don't have to know, where the end is. Whereas with substring, you have to know how long the string is in order to figure out what that second number is. If you want to get like from, the second the through the end of it, I would have to calculate how long the string is with substring and pass in a second number. Slice doesn't require you to do that. You can also start with a position and go backwards from it. So if I did 23 and then did -3 as my second parameter, what that gives me is the 3 characters before that second the, and I would get is space, which is another great advantage of slice over substring. So if I know I want to start here and then get the 3 characters before that, then I could pass it in like this way, 23, -3. So that's slice. And then the last string function that I want to show you today is the split function. Basically what that does is it takes a string and it splits it into an array of bits. So if I have a string that's, A, comma, B, and it requires a delimiter to tell, C, D, and I pass this in and I tell it I want you to break it apart on the comma, then what I would get back is an array of A, B, C, D. So that's one way it would break it apart. You can use anything that you want as the delimiter. You could pass in, if I passed in a string of I did that and I passed in, oops, and my delimiter was, say an FOX. Then what I would get back is brown and then the space, and then the second one would be space is the goat. So I get back an array with 2 strings in it, and the first one is the part up to Fox, and the second one would be everything after Fox. So you can use split to break things apart any way that you want to, and it works with any string or any delimiter with that string. Obviously, if I were to use something that doesn't exist, so if my delimiter is Fred, then it returns a single element in the array with the entire string in it, because it didn't find this anywhere in there, so it didn't break it apart the string. So there we go. That's a quick overview of some of the basic string functions that you have available in Power Automate, some of the benefits and advantages of each. They make it really easy to manipulate strings and to work with strings in Power Automate and Power Apps. So there you go. Thank you. Have a good day.